Broadway Church has been my second home. This is all I've ever known. My parents were coming to this church before I was born, and so my earliest memories were running through the halls here. You know, wherever I've been, this place has kind of been the second home for me. It's been one of the most consistent things in my life, just growing up as a kid, into a preteen, into a teenager, and even as a young adult. High school, I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll pursue nursing. I'll be a nurse, and because my mom's a nurse, and maybe I'll do that. Not really being so sure about it, but you know, being a grade 12 student, you just have to figure out what you're gonna do with your life. And so I remember that year, in 2012, I went up to Camp Yukon for the first time. God just moves in an incredible way in my life, and in a way that I've never really experienced, where God really made it clear that I am called to ministry, and that's what the rest of my life looks like. And so I arrived back in 2013 summer from Camp Yukon with these just feelings of awe, like, God, you're so good, but what does it mean to be called to ministry? Like, all I knew is, okay, I need to quit my job. I call Lewis and I tell him, hey, I quit my job. I am not pursuing nursing, and I'm called to ministry. Can you help me? And Lewis was so kind and took me under his wing, and there was an opportunity to work at City Reach in our out-of-school care program, and then quickly they hired me to be a custodian at the church, and so I was doing that also part-time, and that was kind of my foot in the door. And I didn't realize it then, but God was preparing me. That was the beginning of my journey at Broadway Church, to be on staff and to be the youth pastor. God he was up to something. He was like, I just took it day by day, but it was so exciting. As the years continue, like our preteen ministry was growing, our youth ministry was growing, and you know, I'm like halfway in my Bible college career, and in 2016 fall, I remember Pastor Lewis, he asks me, hey, Jer, like, what do you think of being the youth pastor? And I said, that doesn't work because you're the youth pastor. And he said, no, I think it's time for you to be the youth pastor. You've been doing a great job, and a lot of these people look up to you, and you just seem like the most natural next person. All of a sudden, I'm kind of overseeing youth staff, and I'm their direct report, and I'm mentoring not just students and leaders, but staff members, and you know, rebranding our youth ministry, and just seeing just so many students, both from, you know, Christian homes and unchristian homes, and just all over the city, just students come to our youth ministry and just hear about Jesus. And man, like, it was, honestly, I would never have thought that I'd, you know, simply starting as, you know, at the out of school care, or just being a janitor here, I would have never in my wildest dreams have thought I would be this overseeing youth pastors, overseeing youth staff at multiple youth sites. And you know, God's just been so faithful, and I never really knew what the future held, and every time he would open a door and I'd walk through it, and all of a sudden he just has this plan ready and in place. I began having these kind of feelings of like, just what does it look like to plant a church? And I just thought that was just the most craziest, most ridiculous thought. I remember sitting in a church planting class at Summit and thinking, I'd never do that. Often God is always, you know, into bringing us into uncomfortable situations so we can rely on him. And again, his plans are always best. And I just had these feelings and didn't really know what they meant. Last November of 2018, like I had someone, kind of this random person, message me, and he says, hey, we've never met, but I had a dream about you, and for whatever reason, if this doesn't make sense, just disregard it. But here's what I feel like God was saying in this dream specifically over your life. Just again affirming just this kind of call to church planting, and gave me this verse about the qualifications of an overseer, like a pastor, a leader, and again affirm this call. But before I actually step into that season of church planting, he said, God wants to bring you into another season where he's going to really prepare you for what's to come. As the puzzle pieces kind of fell together, and it became more clear and more apparent that, yeah, Broadway Church is all I've ever known. This is where I grew up. This is where I've staffed for 6 years, and I don't really know what it's like to be on another church or another staff. And if I'm gonna plant a church one day, if that's what God wants, it makes sense to be a little bit more seasoned, a little bit more well-rounded. In March, at the end of spring break, I will be resigning officially as the youth pastor here at Broadway Church. It's a weird feeling. It's, there's a lot of peace around it, which is so affirming for me that, yeah, this is the right time. I'm really hopeful and really excited for not only what my journey looks like, but what things look like here at Broadway, to see people step up and to see our youth ministry continue to thrive and just love students and influence this city. I couldn't be more pumped for what the next chapter holds.